It's broad daylight in the Gulf of Oman, and a massive Iranian commercial oil tanker is attempting to slip past a military blockade. High above, an American F-18 Super Hornet spots the vessel and immediately banks into a steep, aggressive dive. The pilot ignores the standard anti-ship missile firing solution and instead lines up a precision strike directly down the ship's smokestack. Hitting a moving target's exhaust funnel from altitude requires immense technical skill. The pilot relies on the jet's M61 Vulcan cannon, a 20mm rotary gun firing high-explosive incendiary rounds, treating the weapon like a surgical scalpel. This maneuver paralyzes the ship by destroying its propulsion without harming the crew or sending the vessel to the bottom. It allows the U.S. to strand a multi-million-dollar asset while avoiding the immediate escalation of a full-scale war. That single F-18 strike is a microcosm of a much larger American military apparatus. Entire carrier strike groups are currently parked in the region, enforcing a strict maritime perimeter and locking down unauthorized shipping. The blockade is holding over 70 tankers outside Iranian ports, a fleet carrying 166 million barrels of crude oil, valued at $13 billion. With these assets paralyzed, the regime loses $500 million every single day. Iran's response relies on its Mosquito fleet, swarms of small, armed speedboats designed for asymmetric harassment. However, these craft struggle to project power against the guided missile destroyers anchoring the blockade. Washington is applying a massive economic tourniquet, deliberately starving the regime's corrupt patronage networks of the cash they need to survive. This strategy follows the doctrine of retrenchment. The military uses targeted kinetic strikes to eliminate specific threats, and then steps back, allowing sustained economic pressure to collapse the enemy's resolve without the need for a ground invasion. Effectively policing massive stretches of ocean requires a versatile enforcer. With a combat radius of roughly 500 nautical miles and mid-air refueling capabilities, the carrier-based F-18 Super Hornet serves as the primary bouncer for this operation. Pilots can also employ the GBU-12. This is a 500-pound bomb paired with a laser-guided kit that achieves a margin of error of less than 1 meter, allowing the Navy to cripple a ship's steering gear while leaving the rest of the vessel intact. Once the propulsion is gone, the vessel becomes a sitting duck, entirely defenseless against boarding and interdiction by U.S. Marines. These precision hits prove that the U.S. maintains absolute control over Iran's primary revenue stream, without the need for total annihilation. These massive tankers, known as Very Large Crude Carriers or VLCCs, are actually attempting to run the blockade while completely empty. They are racing to return to Iranian ports to load cargo. If these empty carriers fail to arrive, the terrestrial spillover tanks waiting on the shore quickly reach their maximum capacity. Oil pumps are built for continuous operation. If the onshore tanks reach capacity and the flow stops, the crude oil eventually begins to seize up, turning into a thick jelly that can permanently damage the pumping infrastructure. To maintain this chokehold, the Navy relies on specialized F-16 CJ fighter jets to hunt and neutralize Iranian air defenses. Pilots fly into Hafal territory and intentionally act as bait. By tempting ground operators to target them, they force hidden surface-to-air missile radars to turn on and reveal their locations for immediate destruction. With air defenses blinded and the ships immobilized, the mechanical integrity of Iran's onshore oil network is now at the mercy of the clock. Intelligence estimates suggest the Iranian regime has only 3 to 4 months before the economic losses from the blockade trigger severe, destabilizing internal hardships. This reality drives Washington's dual-track strategy, maintaining an unrelenting military grip on the water while holding open a diplomatic channel to give the regime an off-ramp. The current proposal calls for a 30-day mutual lifting of blockades. The U.S. reopens the ports and Iran lifts its restrictions on the Strait of Hormuz as a bridge toward a permanent ceasefire. Publicly, Iran projects defiance. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi condemned the precision strikes as a reckless military adventure that violates the diplomatic process. American officials are instead patiently watching the economic damage accrue, waiting for the pressure on the regime's treasury to outweigh their public bluster. A single 20mm round fired into a steel pipe proves that precise military force has become the essential prerequisite for achieving